All right, well, welcome once again to another Microvellum Live event. Looks like we have still a few people logging in, but we'll go ahead and kick things off here. If this is the first time that you've participated in these events, we're glad you're here with us. We host these events weekly for our users and those looking to learn more about our solutions as well as our partner products. But I want to take a few moments to explain how today's session is going to work. As you've probably already noticed, we're using GoToWebinar today, and this is the palette that you see most likely docked to the right side of your monitor. And this is your line of communication to our team, not just to our presenter if you have a question, but also to the techs that we have working behind the scenes to answer your questions. So on deck at the help desk, we have Shane Governor, Lenny Sienna, and Christian Pemberton today. So we're looking forward to helping you, and so don't be shy about asking your questions. Just use that question box in the GoToWebinar palette. And just in case you're wondering, this webinar is being recorded and will be emailed to you tomorrow. So, all right, today we're going to be learning about building or creating MDF doors with Microvellum software. We're going to be discussing best practices for MDF door manufacturing, and we have two specialists with us today that will help us with these presentations. So first we have Tim Skolman, a longtime Microvellum user, a cabinet maker, and current account manager up in Canada. And we also have Scott Burton with Royce Air. So thank you very much for joining us today. And Tim, I took a few minutes to review what you and Scott will be presenting, and I must say I'm looking forward to seeing your delivery of it. So thanks again, guys.
Well, thanks, Clay. If you want to go ahead and switch over to my screen here, then we can get started. And so as we do that, just wanted to ask the audience a little bit about how you do your MDF doors currently, whether those are a buyout option for you or how you handle that. So I'm just going to pop a poll up on your screen if you want to just go ahead and click through the options that you have there and let us know how you currently manufacture your MDF doors, and that'll help us as we go through the presentation. So today's guest for our presentation is Scott Burton, and Scott works as a sales manager for Royce Air Tooling, which is a tooling company with offices both in Canada and the US. And we've taken the opportunity to incorporate some of their tooling into our software for the production of MDF doors. And so today, Scott's just going to share a little bit with us about best practices for manufacture, different tools that they have available for the manufacture of the MDF doors, and how you can get the best finishes and results on those doors. And so Scott, welcome to the session today.
Very much, Tim. I appreciate the opportunity to work with Microvellum to provide this service. So today's topics, three things: getting ready for the software component. Obviously, we need to assess types of tools. Two options we have are carbide insert or diamond. The second thing we're going to touch on is trying to make MDF doors look exactly like a five-piece door. We found in the market that a lot of companies are trying to replicate their solid wood five-piece with an MDF product for kitchens that often have painted end stain finishes. And the third thing that we're going to talk about is achieving efficiency and accuracy in flat panel machining. Now, flat panels have become very common in kitchen designs, that contemporary look, and we find a lot of customers have trouble achieving good surface finish and achieving optimized feed rates to optimize their operation for MDF door production. So those three things we're going to talk about. I'm going to flip to the first slide here, would be why to use diamond tooling. I would say about 95% of the industry would be using diamond tooling to produce MDF doors. Now the reason for this is dramatically increased tool life, efficiency, and accuracy. Profile accuracy is very, very important. You can have a great machine and great software, but if you don't have accurate tooling, the transition lines between the profiles will be evident after finishing. Premium surface finish and consistent quality. The diamond tooling option would be the only way to really, truly achieve consistent quality in a production process. There are some reasons we would use carbide, and I'll touch on that as well. So on the next slide, why to use insert tooling? And this is carbide replaceable insert tooling. The biggest reason would be profile versatility. And this starts a lot when companies are starting to develop their profiles. You don't want to go to an expensive diamond tool option because you haven't completely established your profiles. Carbide insert tooling can be very helpful because you can modify the profile quickly, easily, and you can get a lot more versatility than diamond. And the final thing that would cause us to use insert tooling would be the ability to get small diameter tools. This becomes very important in the next few slides here because we're trying to achieve, again, that look of a 5-piece door. And quite simply, you need to use a small tool to get those tight corners. So on the advanced MDF door production slide, we have a challenge here. We can see an image of an MDF door with the tightest possible corners. And with some of the insert tooling I just showed you, that is definitely possible. Now for this challenge of achieving the tight corners, there's really two solutions within Microvellum. And the first one, solution number one, would be to use a 45-degree angle tool. And Microvellum has a perfect corner feature in the software that allows you to take that 45-degree tool out on a 45-degree angle and create a perfectly sharp corner for the door. Now, the second solution would be the small diameter tools that we showed you. The image on the right shows you an MDF door with an applied molding. And with a series of these small diameter carbide tools, you can essentially produce an applied molding door with a number of tools with very, very tight corners. The next slide would be advanced router tooling solutions. It shows a picture of an MDF door flat panel. And again, this has become very popular in contemporary kitchens, and we have a lot of customers trying to optimize their process for it. So that shows the example of the kitchen. Now if we flip to the next slide, it shows you the solution, an integrated tool holder concept. Basically that's a diamond surfacing tool mounted directly on an HSK holder. Now the reason we do this is essentially for accuracy. Pallets and hydraulic chucks can have some run out, so we can produce the tool in one piece to go directly to the spindle. On the pocketing and surfacing slide, we have premium surface finish at high feed rates, and these really are the two features that make this the best process. Premium finish is provided using a diamond tooling with a radius. Now that means that you can step the tool over with minimal transition lines. And this diamond tooling also allows you to achieve higher feed rates due to the design and rigidity of the tool. And the last slide, advanced tool holding, shows two examples of those HSK integrated tools that can be used for MDF door flat panel machining or for profiling if required. So those are the things that we can certainly help with on the tooling side. And if there's any questions that are tooling related, I'd be happy to answer. Appreciate the opportunity. Have a good day.
Well, thanks very much, Scott. Again, if your first experience getting into the MDF door manufacturing, it looks from our poll like a number of you are currently manufacturing those outside, or having someone else manufacture them for you, or recommending your customers go with the solid wood door option to avoid some of these issues. So if you're in this for the first time, exploring whether this is an option for you, that's certainly something that Royce can help out on the tooling side. And so during the exit poll, you'll be given the opportunity to specify that you would like some more information on the Royce tooling, and you'll have Scott's contact info so that you can follow up and see what tools and options are available. So, Scott, thanks very much for the time that you've given to participate in our presentation today. For the rest of our time together today, we're going to focus on the Microvellum specific side of that and how that relates to creating these doors inside of your Microvellum software. So the tooling that Scott's talked about today, we've set that up, and I'll be demonstrating how that's set up inside of the software and how that's created in there. So what I'll be using today is the version 46 library, and so that library has the MDF doors with machining set up, and we have a variety of different door profiles and options that are available as far as shapes of the doors, and then as far as the individual profiles within those doors, those are virtually unlimited based on the different tooling options and things that we have. So what I'll be talking about as we go through are some of those tools that Scott talked about. So here we have a variety of different tools that we can use in order to make up profiles. And so by combining all these different profiles and different tools, we're able to make virtually unlimited interior profiles for our doors, and then combining those with the different shapes and configurations of doors that we have inside of the software, you have basically unlimited possibilities as far as how you can create your different doors and drawer fronts and things for your products inside of Microvellum. So as we go through, basically there are two different components to an MDF door. We have an outside profile, and so an outside profile in Microvellum could be up to 5 different tools that pass through. In fact, it could be more than that if you use multi-pass tools in conjunction there as well. But if you want to create a radius like this with a step or something like that, you might come through with a couple of different tools that you're passing through on the outside edge profile, so that you have the ability to add up to 5 different tools in order to create that outside edge. And then we have an inside edge profile, so you have the width of your stiles and rails, and then whatever that inside profile is. And so that inside profile is really, when you're thinking about a 5-piece door, it's really the cope and stick profile as well as the raised panel profile that you're using. And so that inside edge profile can really be made up with up to 15 different tool paths that you can use, different tools, different offsets, different depths in order to create that detail. And so in addition to the options for those profiles, we have some options in there for grooving the faces of the panels, for adding some joint lines and all those sorts of things. So what we're going to get into today is how to go through and set up your own profiles and set up the details for those. And so this is a combination of creating tools that are in your tool file, as well as creating info inside of your library data in order to create those doors. And so the first step in creating these is going to be to create some tooling drawings. And so for a tooling drawing, it has to be created as a closed polyline that's going to be drawn around and extruded around the profile for your door. And so you're going to start by creating those tools. So if we look at the Royce tools, these are the drawings that I've created. So these are already created as blocks, but basically they're polylines, and if I go in and try to extrude them, you'll see that they extrude properly. That's how I know that this is a profile that's going to work inside of the software. And I can create my tools and my doors with those profiles. So you can really create any sort of door profile that you'd like, as long as you have a drawing for the tools that you're going to use. And so that's our first step in creating those. And so we can create those inside of our Microvellum data and graphics, and in the router bits folder. Then we can place those in. They have to be closed polylines, and they have to match the units. After the webinar, we can make available these Royce tools and all the profile drawings for all those. So if you want to get started using the Royce tools, then you're able to use those inside of the Microvellum software. When you're setting those up, the center of the tool has to be set at 0, 0. All the content that we're going through today is going to be available as a video after the fact. And then if you look in the handouts tab, there is actually a document that will walk you through this as well. So if you have any questions or want to follow along in how to create those on your own, then you can certainly do that after the fact. The next thing that we need to do is, once we have our tool drawings created, we need to lay out our profiles and say how many tools we're going to use, what the different offset steps and locations for those tools are going to be. So we just create drawings for each of our tool profiles, and then we create those. So when we're doing that, so here, for example, we're going to have a tool that comes to pass for the raised panel portion. We're going to have a tool that comes to pass for the inside profile here, we're going to have, as Scott talked about, we have a couple of different options whether we ramp out on the corners. So in a profile like this, we wouldn't want to ramp out. We could use a smaller diameter tool in order to create that tight corner in the top there. And so we're going to lay out our profiles and figure out how those are going to be created, and then we're going to enter those dimensions into the software. So a couple of things when we're going through and setting up those profiles, we need to consider how the tool is actually going to travel, how you want to handle those corners, especially when it comes to the flat panels, and you want to clean out those corners. You want to make sure that you're not going to have any leftover material there. So sizing your pocketing tool and the tool that cleans out the edges to make sure that you cover all of the dimensions are important things that you want to go through and do there. So for this exercise with the Royce tools here, what I did was just went and created some profiles using those different tools. And so all I did was move my tools around to where I wanted them to be. And so that created what my profile was. And then I just took these drawings and adjusted and located them accordingly. Then I dimensioned off to see exactly where those tools need to run. So when I'm thinking about that, I need to think about the size of my rail, where I want to call the 0. So when I specify a 2-inch rail width, I've said that the bottom or the front edge of the what would be the stick profile, that would be where I would run, and so I'm going to measure my dimensions off of that. And so you can adjust that as you like, set up your profiles as you need there. So then if we're going to add that new profile, so now that we've got our profile laid out and we want to add that into the software, we can do that either through the interface or we can do that through the spreadsheet in the software. And so we can go in, as it shows on the screen here, through the interface, go to the door wizard file, and then go to show lookup tables, find our lookup table internal profile, and that's going to list out all of our different internal panel profiles. And we can also go in and do that through the spreadsheet here. So if I'm inside of my product, I've just drawn up a little project with a few different doors on it. So I can also just go in through the spreadsheet and do that. So if I go edit design data on one of my products, I can go in and have a look inside of the spreadsheet here. I'm going to use the workbook designer button to go to my D workbook, which is my door styles. And then inside of my door styles, I have these two different tables that are used for the MDF doors. And so that's lookup table internal profile and lookup table external profile. And so that's where we're going to focus, is how those tables are set up and where the dimensions and details come for those options. And so either access through the interface or through the workbook designer as shown there. So when I'm looking at my profile, basically it looks like a very wide table that has lots of options, and that's because you do have up to 15 tools that you can put in and put through there. And so each one of those tools has its own set of parameters, depths, offsets, compensation, direction, all those sorts of things. So this is a combination of setting up your tooling file as well as this information here. So if I look in here, the data that I have in here as my tool name has to match the common tool name that I have inside of my tool file. So I have all these tools set up inside of my tool file, and then I'm specifying which tool is going to be used and how that's going to be processed through. So as I have a look through, I just created a name for this profile, and so this is my internal panel profile, and I've just given it a name of shaker. So this is a basic shaker door. It's just going to have basically one half-inch tool that cleans out the corners, and then an 1/8-inch tool to come back and finish those out, and then it's going to pocket the inside for a very basic shaker door. And so this one here, route passes, that's going to be calculated just to say how many passes it's actually going to use. And so I'm using these two tools, and so here I'm using my 1/2-inch tool here with an offset of 0 because it's running right on the edge of my rail. And my route depth, I'm running with metric configuration right now, so this is 8 millimeters deep. You can certainly do this in metric or imperial. Either one is just fine. So for my compensation, depending on which side of the door I'm working on, this is going to be left, right, or center. I can specify my comp however I need to for the when I'm running off of the edge of the stiles and rails, that would be a right compensation. And so that's what I have here. I have my 1/2-inch tool running at 0 with a right compensation 8 millimeter deep. And then I come through as a second pass with my 1/8-inch tool to clean that out with, again, 0 offset and 8mm deep. I could offset those a little bit so that, you know, the 1/8 inch tool takes a little off of the edge if I wanted to. I can adjust that as needed. And so as I go through, I have a profile name and then the tool name to match my common tool name. And then I have a profile name. So if I don't have the tool names matched exactly to the names of the tools that I have inside of my tool file, I can use a profile name in here as well. If I leave that blank, it'll use whatever the tool drawing is that I specified here in my tool file. So then I specify my depth, my offsets, and the details for that. One of the options that we have in here is the perfect corners. So as Scott mentioned, one of the ways that we can clean those corners out is if we're using a V-bit, we can come and ramp that tool out on the corners in order to give us our perfect corner. So in this case, this would be a perfect corner equals 0, so it's turned off. And so that's going to leave us a bit of a radius in that corner. But if we want to clean that out with a perfect corner where the tool ramps out, that's going to be perfect corner equals 1, and then I'm going to specify what my tool angle is in order to do that. So that doesn't have to be a 45-degree bit. If I want to ramp that out, you know, with a larger bit, maybe it's a 60-degree bit, I can ramp that out, and I just need to specify my information for the tool there. And so that's going to be here. I'm going to turn on perfect corners for one of those, and then what my route tool angle. And so if I look down on my Royce profiles here, this tool here has that coming out, so it has it turned on, and it has a 45-degree tool that's ramping out. And so that's going to bring the tool out on the corners to create my routing operation for that. And so that just continues repeating basically up to my 15 tools, so I can use that same logic to specify a depth, an offset, a tool compensation, and a perfect corner condition for each of my tools as I go through. So then if I scroll a ways over to the right on that table, I'll come into my glass door and insert panel options. As Scott mentioned, they have some great solutions with their tooling in order to give you perfect finishes on one-piece MDF doors. The software is set up so that you can use insert panels. So if you want to cut a rabbet in the back of all your doors and then put a 1/4 inch MDF panel, insert that back in, that is an option. Obviously you're going to use more material in that case, and so you need to weigh those options, either the integrated tool holders and better solutions that way, or additional material in order to create that. But the software will support both, and so you can create MDF center panels or glass panels. And so depending on what you select in the options, you can set that out, and you can machine that cutout either from phase 5 or phase 6. So if you do have like a slot cutter that you want to run around on the surface of the bed to clean that out, then you can do that. You just want to make sure that your priorities are set correctly so that you do the cutout first and then the slot cutter after the fact. On your tooling information, they are processed from left to right, so priority is set in the order of the tools that they're going to run. And so when you enter your tool number 1, it's going to be the first tool that runs, and up to 15 will be the last tool that runs. So one of the other options, you have options for rail lines to show in your doors like this. And so then in the options here, you can specify what the depth of that is, what the offset is. And so typically, if you're specifying your rail width with a particular dimension, then you might specify that your offset is at 0 in order to give you lines to line up with maybe a V-bit that's coming out for something like this condition where you're showing a joint condition for those rails. For your groove depths, it's groove depth in addition to the pocket depth on your panel. So if you're using a flat panel, flat shaker condition, and you want to specify a groove depth, you're going to specify the depth past the depth of your pocket for that shaker panel. If you're specifying a raised panel, then it would be like if you're not pocketing out the center of the panel, then you would specify that groove depth. Groove depth would come off the face of your 3/4 or whatever you have for your door thickness. You have a groove offset from the sides, and then a groove spacing. So you have actual spacing that's going to be used in between your grooves, and then a minimum distance that's left beside the two styles in order to create those grooves, and it will space those out evenly across across your door that way. There's a groove offset from the end because when you come in with this tool for that groove, if you're using a V-bit, you want to make sure you don't hit the profile there. So you want to make sure that you get that dimension set correctly so that you end up with your grooves showing up correctly on your parts without damaging the inside profile of the door. Then you have that option for pocketing flat panel door. So if you are using a shaker door, like many do in a contemporary kitchen, and you're pocketing that panel out with one of those integrated tool holders or with some other pocketing option, then that's going to be used here for your pocketing options. And so you specify whether that's an option that's turned on, then you specify what the pocketing depth is and then what the pocket offset is. So again, depending on how you set up the size of your rails is going to determine where that offset dimension is going to land and how that's going to run there. There are a number of different construction options for the MDF doors. So there's an option for using a single glass panel. So if you're doing doors with multiple lights inside of them, multiple glass openings in the door, then you can specify whether you want to create individual glass pieces to fit in each of those lights, or if you want to use one large piece of glass that's going to run past the entire opening for your door, then you can do that. If you use single glass panel, it's going to create a single glass panel, pocket out the back of the mullions in order to allow you to do that. If you have that turned off, then you're going to get 9 individual pieces of glass for your one door if you have 9 lights in it. For your drawing options, if you're doing some initial setup and you just want to draw the kitchen or the project quickly, you want to turn off the doors so you don't have all of the machining showing up as you're initially laying it out, and there's an option to turn those off. So maybe you turn those off for your initial layout, and then you have the layout kind of confirmed. You can redraw everything after you've turned that option back on. We have thermofoil options as well, so if you're going to thermofoil wrap those doors instead of painting them and you want to deduct for the size for those doors, then you can specify a dimension that you want to deduct for that wrap, and then also if you want to put a radius on those corners either for that thermofoil or just to have a radius on those corners, then you can specify that in there as well. And so looking at how that's set up in the software, we'll go back in there for our internal profiles. So we have, I've just created these number of different profile names, and so each one of those has a different set of tools in there. And so I have my tool number 1 and all the different parameters for that. And I have all of my different tools all the way over to tool 15 in order to set those up. And so I can fill out whatever I need in order to do that. And then I get into those glass options that I've laid out there. So I have a glass cutout option, offsets, where they're going to be located, how deep they're going to be cut, what the compensation is, whether I'm cleaning out the corners on those, and what my different options, priorities, and things are for those. And then also for the same for the glass rebate, so machining the back side of the door or what's going to be the back side of the door to receive that panel, whether that's an MDF panel or a glass panel, then I have the options to set that up. And then I have the options for my rails to put the joint lines on my rails there, and so I specify my locations, my depths, my offsets in order to do that, and the priority for those. And then for the pockets, what tool I'm using for pocketing those fronts out, and then what the depths are, the details for those. And then for my grooves, if I have grooves in the face panel, then I can go through and do that as well. And then I have an option there for using an insert panel, so I can specify whether I want to use an insert panel on each of those different profiles individually. And then there is also an option for drawing a single profile, so once you've got your profile defined, if you just want the software to draw with one single profile that you've made up as a drawing, then you can go ahead and do that as well. And that works the same for the external profile, so here I have basically my different tools. This time I just have the 5 different tooling options that I have, an offset, a depth, and where those are going to be located. And so Now that I have those options set up, then I can just go ahead and go into the software, and I'll show you what that looks like inside of a standard product here. So here you can see I've drawn this particular group of items with MDF doors for the panels and for the doors and the drawer fronts and things. And so here, if I go to my door options, I'm using my Microvellum MDF door system. This is my routed with machining option, and here for my door style, I could set up door styles where I specify, 2-inch rails with a certain profile is going to be a particular name for that profile. I can set that up. I haven't done that in this case. I just have this set up as custom MDF, and I can just adjust that in my project wizard in order to set what those options are for this particular one. Here I'm specifying what my outside edge profile, so I can come in and I can override those. If I want to set a different outside edge profile, I can select from those ones that I've set up in that lookup table. And the external profiles option, and the same for my inside edge profile, so I can select which one of my different profiles, and so I can choose from those options that I have in order to create my door option there. Specify what my rail and style widths are for all of those, and give me my options there as well. So if I wanted to do a light quantity, so if I want to specify that I'm going to put lights in my doors, then I can give it a light quantity of 1, and that'll give me my glass panel doors that way. And so that's going to draw those products with that tooling. So here you can see this one. When I selected that, I selected my door options. I selected the V-step 40A. So if I go back to my Royce drawing there, there's my V-step 40A. So that was the profile that I set up. I'm using this group of different tools. So I have a 1/2-inch tool coming in to machine the step, and then I have an 1/8-inch tool that's going to clean out that radius. I have the V-bit that's going to travel around and then do my perfect corners on that. I have a tool that's running around for my bottom on this side, and then as well on the inside of my profile. And then I have this 40A profile tool in order to form the inside. And so that's the different options that I have set up for that particular panel style, and that's what's showing up in my drawing there as well. And so now when I look at that door, if I go and take that door, and let's just say I want to take that part and draw it in 2D, I'll just show you what that looks like when we draw that out, and I can see my different machining options and machining operations that are used in order to form that profile door. I'll just have a look at the questions here. And so here you can see that I've got my profiles coming around, and so there's a variety of different routing operations that are profiling around that tool. And so here you can see that I'm coming in. There's my V-bit that has the clean out. You can see that one is ramping out on the corner. If I went into the properties for that particular machining operation, you'd see that it ramps out on the corners. And then I've got my 1/8-inch tool and my 1/2-inch tool all coming around to do my machining on that operation. So that one doesn't have a flat panel. That was just a raised panel option. If I go over to my drawer fronts here, you can see that I have a flat panel in for those ones. The tool that I set up to do that pocketing was an 1 3/4 tool, so these ones are actually small enough that just a single pass around those is going to take care of that. But on this bottom drawer, I can have a look and see where that machining is going to happen, and so that pocketing tool is going to go and pocket out the outside of my profile, and then also come through and pocket out the center panel option that I have in here to machine all of the excess material away. And so it's going to create all the machining that it needs in order to pocket away all the material. So here you can see I've got this tool coming in, and it's going to pocket out the entire center of my panel going right out to the edge, and then I'm coming in with a 1/2-inch tool and an 1/8-inch tool to clean that up and leave just that 1/16 radius in the corner and give me the finished detail that I'm looking for. And so when we look at that, as far as processing that work order, we can just process that out just like we would any other work order. And so it's going to include all of my data for all of my parts, including the MDF doors. So just in a single software, single application, I've created my drawings for these products as well as for my MDF doors. I've hit process and it's created all of my nesting operations. This is our processing center, so here you can see I've assigned these different operations to different machines, and so some of them are going to a nesting machine, some of them are going to a saw. And here's my MDF doors, so those are all, you can see, going to the nesting. And if I go and open my drawing for that nest, I'll just open up my nesting drawing and find my 19 MDF, and there's my composite drawing with those options showing for that that group of doors. And so there you can see it's nested all the doors together. It's doing all of my machining operations to create all of my different tooling and details for those, and pocketing out my tools and giving me everything I need in order to create that nest with those doors ready to manufacture, run, and ready to send to finishing with minimal additional work, as I've set up all my profiles and tools in order to give me all of the tight radiuses and corners and details that I need in order to do that. Some of the other things that we can do inside of the 46 library, if we go and have a look at this product, so this is something like a hood panel option that we would have for something, maybe it's a finished end panel or something like that you want to include different options for that. Then you can use this decorative panel in order to create those options. And so here I'm using those same sets of panel profiles and details, and so as soon as I've created them inside of my internal and external profiles, then those are available inside of this product as well. And so here I can specify that you want to use my 2mm round over, and if I wanted to use a different tool in order to create this panel, then I can go ahead and do that and configure this panel as I need. So I can specify however many panels I'd like to include in here. So how many panels in width, whether those are vertical styles or whether they're tapered up a bit, since the outside edges are angled on here. So these ones here, I've put a deduction on the top and bottom, or the tops of the left and right sides here, so I can see that the panel is tapered. I can also angle my middle style so that it's a little bit narrower at the top to give me the real Star Wars effect on that particular panel. And I can specify all my style and rail sizes, my dimensions. I can adjust my panels. So if I go in here and say, I want this center panel to be a particular dimension, and then I'll just specify outside panels as smaller, then I can do that. Maybe I'll go 400 and just specify that those are in there. I can specify what my bottom arch is. So if I want to leave that with an arch at the bottom, I can do that and give me my machining for those, and it's going to calculate my layout and all of the details that I need in order to create a custom panel like that as well. So pretty wide open as far as what we can do with the software and what sort of tools, whether that's doors or panel profiles or hood panels or some other shapes and options, and we continue to develop more products around that as well in order to be able to use these for other shapes and other details within the library and outside of that as well. The MDF doors themselves have been used, this product, the data was originally developed for the Australian market, and they've been used extensively and continue to be used extensively there. It's recently that we've added it to our 46 North American shipping library, and we have a number of customers that are running this data here as well, and are happy with the results that they're seeing using the different tooling and library options that we have available for that. So I'll just have a look through the questions. If there's any specific questions or anything that we want to cover in more detail, I'll go ahead and have a look at that and just see if there's anything there. So looking at here, I see a few questions just about how it's creating those doors, and so Yeah, whether this is compatible with version 6.7 or 7, and Shane's already answered that. One of the questions was, if your machine only has 8 tool positions, would you be limited to using a door style with only 8 different tools? The 15 positions are the 15 different tooling operations that we have set up for these doors. They may not, in fact, need 15 different operations. If we look at this 40A profile that I was working with, there's, I think, 5 different or 7 different profiles that tools that are used in here. But here you can see that I'm using my 1/8 inch tool in order to machine that edge. I'm also using it again on the inside in order to create that. So here I'm using my 1/8 inch tool, then I'm using my 1/2 inch tool here, my 1/2 inch tool here, and my 1/2 inch tool here. So I'm actually using 3 different operations in order to create that. And so while my may only have 8 tool changers, I could still use multiple tools in different sequences in order to create that. And so some of the tools that you have available, as far as the tools that we have here in the Royce catalog, there's lots of different combination tools. And so if you have tools like this that would give you all of your different steps in a single pass, then that's certainly not going to be a concern. Typically, you're probably not going to run much over the 5 to 7 tools to create a profile, but you certainly have the option to do that. One of the other questions here was, how do we create that tight corner for the one with the radius, so the triple bead, so this one here. So in order to create the tight corners in there, if I come in with my original tool here, so if I take this tool around, I'm going to end up with something like maybe a 3/4 radius on the outside of that, and that's what Scott was talking about when it comes to those lower profile tools. And so this is a small diameter tool that we can come in and we can bring around in order to create that tight tooling operation in order to give us the detail that we need for that tooling. So we can come around with the large tool and clean out most of the material, and then we can come back in with this as a second operation in order to create those options. One of the other questions was, what are the options here for creating doors only? So inside of the 46 library, we have some products that are doors only. So if we go here to inside of our library items here, I think it's under miscellaneous, we have some face panels. So if this is something like a set of face panels for a refrigerator, we could do something like that. There's a, so here if we just go ahead and place that product, you can see I've got some different options for how those face panels are going through. So if you're just creating the doors and you want to specify the overall cabinet size, maybe it's metal casework and you want to create doors to go on the face of that, or if you're manufacturing those for a cabinet, then you can specify the details for those and create it that way. The other option would be to use this single door or drawer front product, and so we can use that to create just a single front. So the other one would create multiples in order to create basically an entire cabinet of fronts only, where this one would give you the details for just a particular panel. So when I enter 457 by 152 as a drawer front size, that's exactly the size that it's going to come out at. And so here I can specify my details in order to do that. One of the things that we have in Microvellum is the ability to import an XLS file. So if this was something that you did a lot of, where you were, maybe you have, you're getting a list in Excel of some products that you need to produce. So you have a list of doors that came from a third party, or you're producing them from another company and you have an Excel list. One of the things that we can do is set up an import file so that you could basically just import that list. It would basically pull this single door and drawer front product and assign the prompts for it and then process that out. So really you could process this without having any sort of drawing interaction, and once your profiles were set up and your details in there, then you could go ahead and set that up that way as well. One of the questions was, is it possible to make moldings with this? If you're talking about applied, just creating the moldings, you would just have to create an additional product in order to do that. If you wanted to use these tools and create a routing path in order to do that, then you could certainly create a product that would basically just run the tool down the full length of the parts, and that would be fairly simple to go ahead and do. One of the questions there was a split door, so if you were doing something like a door with two separate profiles, so here I'm going to go to my door options. We have an option for a, oh, maybe it's not on this one. Let's just throw in a cabinet here. So if I wanted to do a base cabinet, and I'll say add a mid-door rail. So on my door options here, I might say add a mid-rail to my door, and specify the details for that. Then I can specify what the height for that mid-rail is, and I want to give it a different option for the top and bottom profiles. Then I can set that up and give me my profile in order to do that. And if I wanted to override one of those, I could actually go into the subassembly prompts and change the top profile. Maybe this one you want to have as a glass panel above. Then that would just be an option for the light quantity. And so here in my door options, I have an option for the light quantity upper and light quantity lower. And so if I said I just want to have a light quantity on my upper section, then I could go in and specify that I have just one light on the upper section of that door. If I wanted to specify a different profile, top and bottom, then I could do that using subassembly prompts as well. All right, so that looks like all the questions that are there at this point. So thank you for your time today, Clay. I'll just hand it back over to you.
All right, thank you, Tim and Scott. Well done. That was certainly a lot of good information related to MDF door manufacturing, and we appreciate you guys taking the time to help our audience learn more about the tooling and options in Microvellum software. We also had a lot of good questions that came in from the attendees, and I'm glad that you guys used this opportunity to get those tough questions answered. As Tim mentioned, there were a few handouts that were prepared for this event, as well as an AutoCAD drawing with the Royce Air tooling profiles. These will be available for download on our help site a little later today when we post this recording. And if you'd like to learn more about how you can get started with building your own MDF doors with Microvellum, or maybe even more information about Royce Air tooling, please let us know in our exit survey, and we'll be happy to follow up with you. Before we end the event today, I'd like to take a minute to highlight a few other events that we have coming up. Next week, we'll be taking a pause on our live schedule as we shift over to the AWFS 2017 show in Las Vegas, Nevada. If you're headed to that show, please come by and visit us. We'll be glad to show you the latest software advancements, including these MDF doors as you saw today, as well as Unique Product Builder, our new tool that is used for creating totally custom products visually right in AutoCAD without the need for going into a spreadsheet, just right in AutoCAD using the Product Builder tools. And you'll also be able to see the latest version of Extruded Product Builder that will be released later this summer, as well as some of the many other advancements that we've made this past year. So we're looking forward to an exciting show, and if you're going to be in the area going to that show, we look forward to seeing you there. So our live webinar schedule will resume after the show with a focus on reporting, and we're going to dive down into the basics of reporting. We had an event a few weeks ago where we featured how to make a report and customize them, but your feedback suggested that we needed to cover a little bit more of the basic functionality. So we're going to host a few more events, and we're going to target basic reports kind of an introduction to reporting. Then we're going to advance up to intermediate training on Report Designer, and then host another event that's focused on advanced reporting and label modification. So hopefully this will help you guys get a better understanding of Report Designer. And so this first event will be happening the week after AWFS, which will be July 26th. So watch your emails for that invitation. We'll also be continuing our regional training event, our summer campaign in August, with our next stop in Kitchener, Ontario, about an hour west of Toronto. This is a 2-day event, and it will be held at Conestoga College. And we will feature a tour of Conestoga's Woodworking Center and, of course, training on our software on the latest release. For more information about this event and to register, check out our August event schedule on our website. Well, that'll about do it for today. As you exit the webinar, don't forget to take the exit survey. Your feedback helps us improve these events, so please let us know how we did. So I hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you on our next Microvellum Live event.